clinical roles, dissociative identity disorder, to more accurately describe the condition. And while it's not a very common mental illness, the National Alliance on Mental Illness states that around 200,000 people are diagnosed with it yearly. So, we've all experienced dissociation. I know, imagine you're sitting there reading a book, and all of a sudden your mind starts to wander and you're thinking about something, maybe what you want to eat later in the day or what you'll be doing tonight. But you know you've been looking at the lines and going through, and then all of a sudden you're a paragraph down and you have no idea what the book just said to you, but you know exactly what you want to eat later. So that's dissociation. And people with dissociative identity disorder, they are experiencing extreme cases of dissociation. So what is DID? It's the presence of two or more distinct or split personalities that continually have power over a person's behavior. These identities can range anything from a small child to an older person, anything in between. Really the only limit on it is the person's ability to create this character in their head. Why does it happen? Well, experts believe that personalities are developed to cope with traumatic events. And the cause is still vague, but research indicates a psychological response to interpersonal and environmental stresses, particularly during early childhood stages, are the cause. Usually before the age of 9, traumatic events can cause this mental illness to emerge because that's around the same age that we are developing our own personality and trying to understand the world around us. And we will create these personalities to kind of mask and cover up these bad traumatic experiences we have. The person will literally dissociate himself from a situation or experience that's been too traumatic or harmful or painful to assimilate with their conscious self. So anytime they think of this memory, they'll kind of just block it out, and this personality or identity will emerge. Well, what are the symptoms? Suicidal thoughts, depression, amnesia, and time loss are all very common symptoms with the original identity or who you were originally. Reason is the reason why it doesn't express these symptoms aren't expressed through the identities is because the identities are a coping mechanism. So only the original identity is going to express these symptoms. Also, it's important to note that symptoms cannot be direct effects of a substance or medical condition such as partial seizures, because a lot of time people misdiagnose patients with this due to the previous medical condition or medicine that they're taking. So how does someone with DID shift identities? Well, it can happen at any time. It can take seconds, it can take minutes, days, hours, anything. It really just depends on what's going on in their life. Also, it's not uncommon for environmental cues to cause shifting to occur. Just the same way that me or you might smell something and think of a memory from our past, someone with DID can smell something or hear something or see something that reminds them of this traumatic event, and subconsciously they'll just switch over to this identity. That way they don't have to deal with this traumatic memory. So, obviously there's going to be some controversial cases around this mental illness, and one of the most famous is Billy Milligan. And in 1977, Billy Milligan was arrested for kidnapping, robbing, and raping 3 women in Ohio State University. When he was arrested, he saw a psychiatrist and was diagnosed with DID. And then his defense argued that he couldn't be found guilty since it wasn't really Billy at the time that was doing it. It was his 2 other personalities, Reagan, a Yugoslavian man, and Adelana, a lesbian. The jury then agreed with the defense, and Milligan became the first found not guilty due to dissociative identity disorder. And while it brought a lot of controversy, and there's been many cases since then, Billy Milligan's case holds the precedent on anything like this that arises. So when we're talking about dissociative identity disorder, schizophrenia is going to be thrown into the mix. A lot of the time, people believe that they're one and the same when they're really not. And as we got the presentation last week, we know that schizophrenia is mainly characterized by people that have delusions or hallucinations. And while the patients diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder aren't delusional or hallucination, people believe so because they can't wrap their mind around the fact that they are experiencing the world as someone else. And they do experience the same world we are, the same reality. They're not seeing anything or believing something's going on. They're just seeing it through a different lens that they've shifted into. So, treatment for DID. Unfortunately, there's no cure for it. It's more of a psychological thing. So, the idea of medicine doesn't really help with it. It's not like depression or anxiety. You can't really give someone medicine and fix it. So, the only treatment for it is talk therapy or psychotherapy. Basically, anything that's without the use of medicine. And typically, in talk therapy, the psychiatrist will talk to the personalities and try and uncover why they've emerged and whatnot. And it's actually not uncommon when someone's initially diagnosed to have 2 to 4 personalities, and eventually through talk therapy they kind of more personalities emerge because they're delving down into their problems and discovering more and more lost memories, and so they create these new personalities, which is one of the reasons why that talk therapy is so controversial when it comes to treatment as DID. However, it is the only one that we currently have. That's all. Thank you very much.